We begin in Niger, where a group of military officers has announced a coup on national television. They said they've dissolved the constitution in the West African country, suspended all institutions, and closed the country's borders.
The government of Niger has to date gathered the necessary evidence to prosecute the ousted president and his local and foreign accomplices before the national and international authorities for high treason.
On se sent en famille en ce sens que la Russie est une famille aussi pour l'Afrique.
Countries from the West African regional body ECOWAS say they've now agreed on a plan for a possible military intervention.
And ECOWAS is not going to tell the coup plotters when and where we are going to strike.
At least 17 soldiers have been killed in an ambush. The military leadership says that its troops were attacked by an armed group near the Tillaberi region. It also said its forces killed several of the
In early August of 2023, West Africa was thrust into a recurring and critical crisis triggered by the Niger coup. This marked the seventh coup in West and Central Africa since 2020, plunging Niger into a state of turmoil and presenting a formidable challenge to the economic community of West African states, also known as the ECOWAS. The escalation of political instability in Niger raised global concerns given the nation's extensive uranium and oil resources. Moreover, Niger's pivotal role in countering Islamist insurgencies heightened apprehensions about broader implications.
From a United States standpoint, again, broadly speaking across the U.S. government, we remain engaged with a variety of partners, to include the French, ECOWAS, and others, to assess the situation as it continues to evolve. But the primary focus for us is on attempting to resolve this diplomatically, while recognizing that we do have an important counterterrorism mission in the region.
ECOWAS acted promptly, demanding the reinstatement of President Mohamed Bazoum and imposing sanctions on Niger. Nevertheless, as tensions surged, the possibility of military intervention loomed ominously, necessitating a thorough evaluation of potential risks and regional dynamics. The geopolitical significance of the crisis added another layer of complexity, as global powers like the United States, China, some European nations, and Russia held vested interests in the outcome. This situation presents significant challenges and uncertainties for both ECOWAS and West African leaders. The crisis functions as a test not only for ECOWAS's capability to enforce collective actions, but also for addressing concerns regarding the resurgence of terrorist activities and the overall stability of the broader West African region. As the region stands at a pivotal juncture, the decisions made in response to Niger's coup crisis will reverberate throughout history, shaping the course of the region and international alliances while underscoring the delicate balance between national sovereignty and external influence. In today's video, I will be talking about the complex dynamics of the Niger coup as well as the broader implications of the crisis, looking into what it means for West African states as well as the shifting alliances between states. Now, before I move on to the next chapter, I'd like to ask you for a tiny favor. I'd really appreciate it if you liked the video and subscribe to the channel, as I've got many projects and videos coming up. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Understanding the severity of this crisis involves acknowledging Niger's strategic significance. The nation's vast uranium and oil reserves make it an attractive arena for political maneuvering. Furthermore, Niger's role in combating Islamist insurgencies across the Sahel region amplifies its impact. President Mohamed Bazoum's administration had fostered close cooperation with Western powers, particularly France and the United States, in the battle against extremist threats. Consequently, the repercussions of the coup extended far beyond Niger's borders, sending shockwaves throughout the broader West African region. ECOWAS's response to the coup was swift and resolute. The coalition demanded President Bazoum's immediate reinstatement and rapidly enforced sanctions on Niger. These measures aimed to exert pressure on the junta and restore democratic order. The impending ECOWAS deadline to reverse the coup escalated tensions and sparked conjecture regarding the potential for military intervention. ECOWAS's credibility hinged on its ability to follow through on its ultimatums, serving as a pivotal test of the organization's resolve and its capability to shape the region's political landscape. Nonetheless, the potential for military intervention raises complex questions. Historical reticence among West African states about military interference in the affairs of fellow member nations remains significant.
Face à la menace d'intervention qui se précise à travers la préparation à partir d'un pays voisin, l'espace aérien nigérien est fermé à compter de ce jour, dimanche 6 août 2023, pour tous les aéronefs jusqu'à nouvel ordre. Toute tentative de violation de l'espace aérien national fera l'objet d'une riposte énergique et instantanée.
The situation in the Niger crisis is further complicated by the involvement of neighboring countries. The support expressed by the junta in Guinea, Burkina Faso, and Mali for Niger's coup junta exemplifies a deeply ingrained challenge to the region's pursuit of stability. The dynamics of interregional relations and possible divisions within ECOWAS necessitate a measured approach, given that any intervention carries inherent risks of exacerbating destabilization. As we're getting closer towards ECOWAS's action deadline, the specter of military intervention looms ominously on the horizon. ECOWAS faces the formidable task of devising an intervention plan that balances urgency and prudence. While the specifics of the plan remain undisclosed, the intricacies of executing a swift and effective operation cannot be underestimated. There were talks of two primary options, a ground invasion or a special forces operation. However, the complex nature of the Niger crisis presents unique challenges to both approaches. The junta's consolidation of power and divergent regional sentiments cast doubt on the feasibility of achieving unanimous support for a unified intervention force. The practicalities of deploying a significant troop presence and the potential for prolonged conflict underscore the necessity for meticulous planning to avert unintended consequences. Alternatively, a special forces approach zeroes in on critical strategic sites with the goal of rapidly reinstating President Bazoum and his government. While this method offers the advantage of swift action, it remains fraught with complexities. The presence of foreign troops on Nigerian soil could escalate existing tensions, inadvertently fanning anti-foreign sentiments among the population and triggering resistance against perceived external interference. The feasibility of military intervention hinges on regional cohesion and a clear, unified mandate for action. The situation is very tricky, however. The Niger junta threatened foreign powers that if an invasion were to happen, then it would mean war. ECOWAS must adeptly navigate potential divisions and conflicting interests among its members, emphasizing the necessity for diplomatic expertise and strategic alignment. The success of any intervention effort depends on harnessing collective strength while minimizing the risk of exacerbating internal divisions or life loss risk. However, the potential for military intervention introduces not only tactical challenges but also moral and ethical dilemmas. While the international community may collectively oppose the coup, the decision to intervene militarily raises questions about national sovereignty versus intervention and the delicate equilibrium between non-interference and the responsibility to protect. Additionally, the success of military intervention hinges upon the accuracy of intelligence and operational precision. Any misjudgments could result in unintended casualties, escalate regional tensions, and tarnish the credibility of ECOWAS. The ripple effect of Niger's coup crisis transcends national borders, revealing a tapestry of complex geopolitical interests involving global powers. The United States, China, Europe, and Russia are among those with vested stakes in the crisis outcome, casting a spotlight on Niger's pivotal role in regional stability and resource distribution.
Now, even among other players, not even in the region, players who have a lot at stake here, we know that France and the US both have a troop presence on the ground. France has around 1,500 soldiers there, which has been carrying out anti-terror operations in the Sahel, and the US has a drone base up in central Niger near the city of Agadez.
The United States, traditionally an ally of Niger, displayed its commitment to democratic governance by suspending certain foreign assistance programs in response to the coup. Nonetheless, the nation continued to extend humanitarian aid, striking a delicate balance between expressing condemnation and addressing immediate humanitarian needs. France, a significant player in Niger, viewed the coup through the lens of history, reviving discussions about its colonial influence and its modern role in the region. The coup's ramifications reached beyond internal politics, impacting France's relations with its former colonies and reigniting debates about colonial rule's legacy. China's presence in Niger, primarily driven by resource access, adds yet another layer of complexity. As China's economic influence expands in the region, it holds the potential to reshape geopolitical dynamics, weaving a complex web of interactions that could influence the crisis' outcome.
It's China that is behind the oil project that is currently underway in the country. It's still China that is behind one of the largest power plants in the country. For our fragile economies that need direct investment, we cannot have better, especially since these investments are also based on long-term repayment mechanisms. The repayment deadlines are flexible enough for our economies and the capitalist states that can never grant us that. I say today, the best approach for Africa is China.
The responses and actions of global powers throughout the crisis mirrored their competing interests and broader foreign policy agendas. The United States' stance aligns with its commitment to democratic governance and human rights.
Our focus right now is on making sure that our troops continue to stay safe, that we continue to assess the situation. As I mentioned earlier, we continue to support the democratically elected president of Niger, and the situation does remain fluid. We're not going to get into labels other than to say that we will comply with U.S. law, and that we are going to continue to be focused on using diplomatic tools to try to preserve Niger's hard-earned democracy.
While China's engagement is oriented towards resource security and economic ties. These divergent approaches underscore the geopolitical tug-of-war unfolding in the aftermath of the coup, further complicating the path to resolution and potentially shaping the future power balance within the region. Furthermore, the Niger junta's request for assistance from the Wagner Group, a controversial private military company in the event of foreign intervention, adds an additional layer of complexity to the crisis. This development highlights the junta's search for support beyond traditional diplomatic channels and raises concerns about the potential involvement of non-state actors with their own agendas. The involvement of such entities introduces new variables to the crisis, potentially altering the strategic landscape and intensifying international competition for influence in the region. The Wagner Group's history of operations in other conflict zones further amplifies apprehensions about its potential role in the Niger coup aftermath, showcasing how multifaceted the crisis has become. More recently, Niger's coup leader has just announced that he promises to hand over power in 3 years, all this after meeting representatives from ECOWAS in the capital, Niamey, which further adds to the complexity and uncertainty of how the crisis will be resolved in the future. Niger's coup crisis thrust West Africa into a whirlpool of challenges and uncertainties. ECOWAS's ability to execute its intervention plan hinges on regional cohesion and a collective commitment among member states. The junta's resolute opposition to external interference, coupled with Mali and Burkina Faso's support, adds layers of complexity, underscoring the fragility of regional unity. The very foundation of ECOWAS's collective security mechanism is tested, prompting questions about its ability to navigate intra-regional divisions. The specter of terrorist resurgence emerges as a pressing concern. The coup's aftermath could provide fertile ground for extremist groups like Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State to exploit the security vacuum, heightening the threat landscape. This risk underscores the urgency of swift and effective crisis resolution, as a prolonged power struggle might intensify insecurity and catalyze radicalization. As ECOWAS contemplates its response, it must grapple with the broader implications of its actions. The precedent set in Niger will invariably influence responses to future coup attempts, shaping the region's approach to political transitions and democratic governance. The international community's reactions also carry weight, as foreign powers' decisions can influence West Africa's stability and the potential for further escalation. Moreover, the humanitarian aspects of the crisis loom large. The coup's repercussions have the potential to exacerbate existing socio-economic challenges, potentially worsening the humanitarian situation. Displaced populations, stretched resources, and disrupted livelihoods may trigger a chain reaction, straining neighboring countries and perpetuating instability. At the time of recording this video, a recent incident occurred where more than a dozen Nigerian troops were tragically killed in an attack near the Mali border.
At least 17 soldiers have been killed in an ambush. The military leadership says that its troops were attacked by an armed group near the Tillaberi region. It also said its forces killed several of the fighters.
This attack serves as a stark reminder of the volatile security situation in the region, as Islamist extremist groups continue to exploit the security vacuum created by the political instability. The attack underscores the urgent need for swift and effective resolution for the ongoing coup crisis in Niger, as prolonged turmoil could potentially exacerbate security challenges and embolden extremist activities. This unfortunate event also emphasizes the interconnectedness of political stability and security, further highlighting the critical nature of addressing the crisis for the broader West African region. This recent attack near the Mali border serves as a chilling reminder of the vulnerability faced by West African nations in the face of extremism. It underscores the pressing need for cohesive regional action to restore stability and prevent the escalation of insecurity. As the crisis unfolds, West African leaders must consider not only about the political ramifications of their decisions, but also the immediate security threats that continue to plague the region. The incident adds to the urgency of finding a resolution to the crisis that not only addresses political concerns but also effectively counters the resurgence of terrorist activities that could potentially further destabilize the region. We can see this trend reoccur in different parts of the West Africa region, just as in Nigeria where the Boko Haram remains ever so present. With that being said, to try to fight the increased fragility in the region, the Niger junta started recruiting volunteers to fight for them in the case of any intervention. However, this only led to an even further escalation of conflict in the area.
Je vais être militaire pour l'amour de ma patrie. Et en plus, le Niger c'est notre pays. J'ai l'amour de notre pays. Je veux m'engager pour le Niger. Vive le Niger. Où bien se passe.
Facing Niger's coup crisis, leaders in West Africa are at a crossroads, making tough decisions that will shape the region's future. Options like military intervention, special operations, supporting counter-coups, or maintaining sanctions show the complexity of governing a region and dealing with other countries. ECOWAS, the West African group, is working on its response, trying to find a balance between keeping democracy, stability, and safety. The crisis in Niger goes beyond its borders, affecting all of West Africa and even global powers. It changes how countries work together and can even affect how safe the region is. The challenge is making sure democracy stays strong, keeping the area stable, and handling influences from outside. As leaders in West Africa make choices, they have to handle complex situations and show good leadership. Solving the coup crisis shows how committed the region is to democracy and working together. Even though it's tough, West Africa is showing its strength in politics and its ability to face challenges. The choices made today will be remembered in history, shaping countries and West Africa's future. The impact of Niger's coup crisis isn't just local, it reaches around the world. It doesn't just decide what happens to Niger, but also what happens to the whole West African area. This crisis is about more than politics. It's about history, how things are now, and what's planned for the future. Thank you for watching today's video. I'll be traveling to a couple of countries now to record more videos, so stay tuned for those. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you liked it and subscribed, and until then, I'll see you next time.